A small temple lay quietly by the riverbank, surrounded by ancient banyan trees. No one knew who first built it, only that every year on the anniversary of Aunt Two's passing, the villagers would gather automatically. They would set out trays of banana sweet soup, light fragrant incense, and whisper prayers. Every month, on the full moon day, the narrow path leading to Aunt Two's temple buzzed with footsteps. Grandmothers led their grandchildren, carrying baskets of fruit and fresh flowers, sometimes even steaming pots of banana sweet soup. The scent of cooking blended with the aroma of ripe bananas, creating an atmosphere that was both sacred and familiar. Beneath the sprawling banyan trees, women sat chatting intimately after making their offerings. Some recounted stories, while others peeled bananas for each other, munching and sharing tales of life. Last year, I was sick all the time, going from one hospital to another, one doctor to the next, but nothing helped. Then my youngest son took me to Aunt Two's temple to pray for my health. And you know what? Suddenly I felt lighter, and I've been strong ever since. She really helped me, just like she did for that other family. For months, their husband had no orders, but after offering a tray of banana sweet soup to Aunt Two, hoping for her protection, they got a customer out of nowhere. 100 kilos of shrimp just like that. Old Man Nam would slowly peel a banana, his silver hair glinting, saying, "If we pray, we must live honestly and work hard. Aunt Two loves kind people, but she will punish anyone who lies, remember that." No one laughed, no one contradicted him. In this village, no one dared to joke about spiritual matters. People believed that Aunt Two's spirit still lingered around, silently watching the footsteps of the villagers, protecting the upright, and secretly punishing the cruel and greedy. Just then, a few people were resting in the shade after making their offerings, when a strange woman, thin but agile, wearing a conical hat and clutching a bundle of incense, entered the temple. After placing her incense, she sat on a stone step, wiping her sweaty forehead, and shook her head as if in disbelief. "Oh dear, today I finally dare to tell you. There's a family living downstream who used to sell goods at the market, and oh my, they were so dishonest. They would shortchange people, sell rotten goods, and curse at others as if it were nothing. And yet, they still dared to come to Aunt Two's temple, hoping for blessings to sell their land." The others listened intently, their eyes wide. Some gasped, some shook their heads slightly. One woman spoke up. "Good heavens, they dare to do such things without fearing Aunt Two." The visitor nodded and whispered, "I found it strange too, for her sake." And sure enough, after they made those wrongful offerings, their flower stall was completely deserted. No one dared to come near. The husband tripped, broke his neck, and was bedridden. All their money disappeared. Eventually, they had to sell their house and move to another village to live. An old man muttered, "She doesn't tolerate deceitful or malicious people. Anyone who doesn't live right, she deals with immediately, she doesn't wait." The other women murmured among themselves, "It's true, not everyone who makes offerings to her receives blessings. You have to live a decent life first. Yes, a pure heart is what matters. If you carry grudges and deceit in your heart, Aunt Two will know. That's why I say, the most important thing is a kind heart. Only then will she love you." Everyone nodded in agreement, their eyes thoughtful, gazing at the small altar where a pot of incense smoke swirled ethereally. The wind from the river blew through, carrying the scent of bananas and a slight chill, as if someone was listening. I still clearly remember the first time I was taken to Aunt Two's temple. I was only 6 years old. Besides me, there was an old countrywoman, her hair as white as fiber, her eyes always red whenever she mentioned Toucam. She was the first one to tell me about that woman. Back then, we were poor, roads were muddy, and electricity flickered. Toucam was very beautiful, a gentle beauty, not the showy kind like those women in the market. She married early and lived alone by the river with a small stall selling banana sweet soup. People loved her for her sweet soup, but respected her for her kind heart. The old woman paused, letting out a long sigh, and subtly bowed towards the temple. Later, as I grew up, I heard whispers in the village that Toucam had died a tragic and unjust death 30 years ago. Not a natural death, but one caused by harm and false accusations, leading to a heartbroken end on a stormy, windy night. Toucam was born in Thiensich village, a land by a river branch, where bamboo groves and banana gardens flourished all year round. She was the fourth daughter in a farming family. From a young age, Cam captivated anyone who saw her with her gentle beauty and kind heart. She was beautiful in both appearance and character, with skin as white as fresh rice paper, long hair reaching her waist, sparkling eyes, and a voice that was always soft and gentle. In the village, people cherished her not just for her looks, but also for her respectful demeanor towards everyone, always protecting the younger ones, never competing or holding grudges for long. At 19, Cam married Hai Tin, a gentle and honest fisherman. Hai Tin was a man of few words but deeply loved and devoted. Their happiness, though simple, consisted of a humble leaf house by the river and daily meals of rice and porridge, yet it was the envy of many. However, that happiness did not last long. One afternoon, during a heavy rain, the river water rose high. Hai Tin went out in his small boat to deliver rice to a family in the hamlet, but he was swept away by the strong currents over the dam. When his body was recovered, Cam was like a ghost, calling his name hysterically by the riverbank for days, until her eyes were dry and there were no more tears to shed. The funeral for Hai Tin was simple, with just a few sticks of incense, some garden flowers, and a borrowed shirt from the communal hall. Cam sat by the coffin, her hair disheveled, clutching a handful of red dirt, wailing at her husband's grave. "Why did you leave me, Hai Tin? We just got married, we haven't even had a child yet." The women standing around wept, some shaking their heads, pitying the young wife. They've only been married for 3 years, no children yet, and they loved each other so much. She always cooked meals for him to take to work, even rushing to get to the dam before he started sweating. Cam's cries weren't loud or heartbreaking like others, but rather choked, suppressed sounds of anguish that tore from her throat. From behind the crowd, a middle-aged woman whispered, just loud enough for everyone to hear, "It's true she loved her husband, but who knew Hai Tin didn't go to that dam? Who influenced him? This is no time for idle gossip." Cam didn't hear, or perhaps she was too grief-stricken to hear. She just sat there, scooping handfuls of dirt onto the wooden coffin, as if clinging to what little remained. The afternoon sun filtered through the areca palm fronds, casting a long stripe on the ground. The earth had taken a blessed man, and now it was about to take an unfortunate woman. Before her grief over losing her husband could subside, Cam had to face the cruelties of her mother-in-law. This was a woman who had lost her husband young, living a life hardened by hardship. Every word, every glance carried suspicion and coldness. The young widow Cam, compounded by malicious whispers from villagers, found her life at home turning into a living hell. After her husband's funeral, the small house felt empty, filled only with the rustling of wind through the leaf roof and the buzzing of mosquitoes. Cam was placing a tray of offerings, her eyes red from the fresh grief, when her mother-in-law's sharp voice rang out, "Cry some more, cry your heart out. Will your crying bring Tin back to life?" Cam flinched, quickly wiping her tears. She whispered softly, "I just miss him, and my heart aches so much, Mother." Grandma Sao, Cam's mother-in-law, stepped out, her eyes cold, hands on her hips. "Miss him, you say? I see you're more concerned with crying than with arranging proper offerings. It's only been a few days since your husband died, and your face is still powdered and neat. Who do you think you're fooling?" "I don't have any makeup on, Mother. I just washed my face to feel awake." "Oh, who would believe that? I raised Tin for over 20 years. Do you think I don't know how infatuated he was with you? He listened to everything you said. I told him not to go near that dam, but who persuaded him to go? Wasn't it you who insisted he deliver the rice?" "No, it wasn't. He said he just wanted to help people get their meal ready in time." "Don't try to hide it. Ever since you came here, he changed. I'd say one thing and he'd argue 3. Now he's dead, are you satisfied?" Cam felt as if someone had poured boiling water into her heart. Her grief over her husband hadn't even healed, and now every word from her mother-in-law was like a knife twisting in the wound. She bowed her head, tears falling onto the cold floor. "Whatever you want, Mother, I won't argue." "I don't need you to argue. I just need you to be sensible. From tomorrow, wake up early, cook, clean the house, and arrange your husband's altar properly. Don't just lie there crying like those useless women." In the days that followed, Cam lived like a shadow in her own home. Every meal, Grandma Sao would complain the rice was mushy, the fish too salty, the soup bland. Sometimes, in the middle of the night, she would wake Cam up just to scold her for a misplaced bowl. None of the neighbors interfered. Grandma Sao was known to be as fierce as a tiger, ready to lash out at anyone who spoke ill of her son. Under that roof, Cam was not only a widow, but had become a stranger in her own life. Whispers began to spread. Some said she caused her husband's early death, others were more direct, claiming she had a lover, and that someone's gaze in the village had caused Hai Tin's sudden death. The rumors spread faster than fire through dry straw, and in a small village like Thien Zich, gossip was more terrifying than starvation. One morning, as Cam was carrying a tray of rice out to the yard, she vaguely heard the chatter of women from outside women she once considered friends. What's wrong with Aunt Tu? Her husband just passed, and she looks so relieved. She's not married anymore, why should she care? Don't worry, they say Aunt Tu has a new acquaintance. Just the other day, when Hai Tin was away, she took her boat with someone to the other side of the river, saying someone was waiting for her. Cam froze, her hands trembling, almost dropping the rice tray. Those words were like icy winds, penetrating deep into her heart, leaving her breathless. A week later, as Cam was busily preparing the evening meal, Mrs. Nam, an older woman with a keen eye for gossip, approached Cam. Mrs. Nam looked in, saw Cam quietly setting the table, and sighed, "Aunt Tu, I heard about you, everyone knows, you know. They say she doesn't know what a virtuous widow really is. All these past days, everything is just what the women are saying. Doesn't she ever reflect? Maybe she also bears some responsibility." Cam looked up at Mrs. Nam, but saw only a look of contempt, and the woman continued, "Well, do whatever you want, who's to stop you? But people say that some widows are greedy, who knows?" Cam bowed her head, not daring to utter a word. Injustice welled up inside her, but she lacked the strength to refute or explain. Early one morning, as Cam was still sweeping the yard with her head bowed, Grandma Sao's voice suddenly rang out from behind her, full of fury. "What have you done to make the whole village gossip about you like this, huh?" "Mother, I didn't do anything, it's just rumors." "Rumors, my foot, I've heard everything. You're no saint, you know. You know full well why Tin died young, and yet you're still causing all this scandalous gossip, aren't you?" Cam stepped back, her hands clutching the hem of her skirt. Her dress began to dampen, but she dared not cry. She knew crying was wrong, but so was silence. "You dare to look me in the face." Grandma Sao advanced angrily, her furious hand raised, slapping Cam across the face. Cam stood stiffly, not defending herself, tears streaming down her face, but she dared not sob out loud, fearing Grandma Sao would become even angrier. "If you want to blame fate, let me tell you, you are the one who caused Tin's early death. You're a woman who can't keep herself decent, only good at spreading bad things to others." Cam bowed her head, not daring to say a word, but within her, each word from her mother-in-law was like a knife plunging into her heart. She knew she could no longer live in this house, under Grandma Sao's contempt, under the venomous whispers of the neighbors. Grandma Sao did not relent. A moment later, she looked at Cam with malice. "Get out of my house immediately. I don't care where you go, I don't care what you do. You are no longer part of this family. Get out of here at once." Cam did not argue. She bowed her head, reeling from the suddenness of it all. She stood there, clutching her skirt, her lips pressed tightly together to stifle her cries. Finally, Cam gritted her teeth, hurriedly gathered her belongings. Alone, with no family or friends, she didn't know where to go, but she knew she couldn't stay here. After 3 days of trudging along dusty paths and barren lands, Cam arrived at the river wharf of Thien Nhan village. She didn't know where to go or what to do, but she felt a sense of relief when she saw the wide river with its gentle, undulating waves. She found a vacant plot of land near the wharf and built a small, temporary leaf-roofed hut with a rickety bamboo bed and an empty hearth. She put all she had into it. At night, the wind blowing through the leaf roof seemed to pierce her heart, yet Cam no longer felt afraid. She had grown accustomed to loneliness, to the feeling of having no one by her side. In the beginning, her life was difficult, with no relatives or friends, but Cam refused to give up. She remembered what her mother had taught her, a family recipe, steamed banana sweet soup. This was a dish her mother had taught her since childhood, every step, every ingredient carefully chosen. Cam started with simple steps. She gathered bananas, green beans, and fresh cassava from nearby markets. She prepared batch after batch of steamed banana sweet soup, carefully stirring each pot until the sweet aroma permeated the air. Every morning, Cam carried her small sweet soup stall through the village alleys, calling out, "Hot steamed banana sweet soup here." Initially, not many paid attention, but gradually, the women in the village tried it once, then again. They praised its deliciousness and how it had a familiar, gentle yet rich flavor, as if cooked with love. Each day, Cam's sweet soup stall became an indispensable part of the village market. She not only sold sweet soup, but also shared gentle stories and comforting words with the grandmothers and mothers of the village. Cam didn't talk much about herself, but her eyes held a deep sadness. One afternoon, as dusk approached, Cam's banana sweet soup stall was nearly empty. She sat resting under the shade of a banyan tree by the roadside, wiping her hands, when she saw a few women from the village Mrs. Mrs. Lan, who were passing by her stall and couldn't help but stop. "Aunt Tu, your sweet soup is truly delicious. Is this your mother's recipe?" Mrs. Nam smiled, holding the cup of sweet soup she had just bought. "Yes, today I made an extra hot batch. It's even better when it's hot." These past few days, Aunt Tu has been selling sweet soup, but no one has asked anything about her, where she came from. "Honestly, I feel for you so much, but after selling the sweet soup, you just go back to your place. Tell us a little about yourself, we're very curious," Mrs. Bobbitch, a middle-aged woman, spoke up. Cam hesitated, but then she sighed, sweeping her hair back, her gaze distant as she looked towards the river. She took a deep breath and began to speak. "My name is Tu Cam. I used to live in Thien Zich village, quite far from here, but now everything has changed. I once had a family, a loving husband, but my life wasn't as peaceful as others." Mrs. Bobbitch and the women around listened in silence, as if they understood that there was more painful truth she wished to share. Cam continued, "My husband, Hai Tin, died in an accident. Everyone in the village said I was cursed, that because of me he had to die. Neighbors gossiped, my mother-in-law was cruel, and not a single person stood up to defend me. I was driven out of my home with nowhere to go. I had to leave alone. I didn't know where to go, only to come here, to Thien Enhan, to start over." She choked up, her eyes filled with sorrow, but this time she did not cry. The people around her remained silent. Perhaps they sensed the deep pain Cam was hiding. Mrs. Bobbitch, Mrs. Lan, and the other villagers looked at each other. They all pitied Cam's plight. Mrs. Lan spoke up. "Actually, everyone has their own fate and destiny. No one is cursed by another. You can't blame one person's fate for a specific event. We admire how strongly you live your life, Aunt Tu. It's true, not everyone can start over like you. How could the people in Thien Zich village treat you that way? But it's okay, you came to the right place. This time will be a new beginning for you, and your banana sweet soup is so delicious, many people will surely know about it." Cam offered a contented smile, feeling a warmth spread through her. "Thank you, ladies. I just want to live peacefully and do the work I love. Steamed banana sweet soup is a dish I learned from my mother, and it reminds me of my old family. I don't wish for anything more than to be loved and accepted by everyone." Mrs. Lan gently patted Cam's shoulder. "Don't worry, people here are very warm-hearted. Your sweet soup is delicious. Its flavor reminds me of my childhood. Just feel at home here, I'll support you, you'll surely succeed." Cam chatted with them for a while longer, then continued selling her sweet soup. Although her stall was humble, she now had a community, a place to find peace, and hope for a better future. One afternoon, Mrs. Hong, an elder in the village, received a cup of sweet soup from Cam and said, "Don't be sad, Cam. Everyone has ups and downs in life, but don't let sadness consume you. Your sweet soup is delicious. It helps people forget their worries, that's what's important." In response, Cam merely smiled, her eyes moist but no tears fell. She thanked Mrs. Hong and continued her work. Gradually, the reputation of Cam's steamed banana sweet soup spread. During village festivals, people always remembered that dish as an indispensable part. One afternoon, as Tu Cam was tidying up her small stall, filled with pots of banana sweet soup, 3 strange men approached. They were Vi, Fuok, and Fuck. They were not customers like the villagers but newcomers. Their strange eyes and demeanor made the atmosphere heavy. Vi was the first to approach Cam, his eyes bright and rude. He was a butcher, tall and muscular, with a crude face and tattooed arms. He stood before Cam, saying nothing, just staring at her with greedy eyes. Your sweet soup is delicious, but can you make anything else? Vi said in a coarse voice, without any politeness. No, I only make banana sweet soup. Vi smirked, his eyes clearly showing lust. Oh, maybe one day you'll know, but your sweet soup is really good. You can make a batch for me once in a while. He stood staring at Cam for a few more seconds, then walked away without another word. Everyone in the village sensed the vulgarity in his actions, but no one spoke up. Fuok was the second to approach Cam's stall. He was a woodcutter, not as tall as Vi, but also powerfully built, with large hands and feet, and a face perpetually flushed from alcohol. He walked in, his eyes scanning around, then he told her, "Your banana sweet soup is so good. It seems not everyone can make this dish, right?" Cam felt goosebumps rise, a sense of unease creeping in, but she maintained a calm demeanor, not wanting to show fear. Fuok smirked, "So delicious." This time, Fuok's words made Cam uncomfortable. She merely nodded, then turned to continue her work, but he had left a space filled with the strong smell of alcohol. Next to the entrance was Fuck, a fishmonger in the village who also approached. He was a seemingly handsome man, but his eyes revealed a deceptive, flirtatious nature. He had a reputation for making crude, suggestive remarks, and now he was facing Cam. He smirked and moved closer to her. "Hello, you make such delicious, sweet soup that many people love it, don't you? But I think with this figure and beauty, you have much more to offer." Cam looked directly into his eyes, feeling a chill run down her spine. She didn't want to get entangled in his deceptive words, but she remained calm. "Thank you for the offer, but I only need to sell sweet soup." Fuck let out a sinister laugh and stepped closer. "Oh, I'm sure you need more than that. You're here alone, without family. I can help you, don't be shy." Cam felt as if she was trapped in a manipulative conversation. She wanted to refuse outright, but feared that if she was too harsh, they would become more dangerous. When Cam didn't say anything more, he just smiled and walked away, leaving an indescribable tension in the air. At a nearby pub, Vi took a gulp of alcohol and said, "Honestly, Cam is so pretty she doesn't even notice us. She seemed a bit shy just now. Tonight's a good night. We'll go to her house. Just wait until it's dark, she won't be able to escape." Fuok, his eyes glazed with alcohol, chuckled grimly. "She's refused me several times, but I don't believe she'll dare to resist. Didn't you see a hint of fear in her eyes when she looked at you? Tonight, just a little intimidation, and she'll surely be submissive." Fuck smiled slyly, his eyes cunning. "That's right, don't worry. She lives alone, no one to protect her. We'll go there and teach her a lesson. Her banana sweet soup is good, but it's time for her to pay the price and remember." Vi poured another splash of alcohol, slammed his hand on the table, making a loud noise, and the laughter in the pub died down. "From now on, it won't be banana sweet soup anymore. It'll be something else. You two, rest assured, just get her scared, and then she'll be ours." Fuok nodded, his eyes bloodshot, looking at Vi. "You're right, Cam won't escape tonight. Don't worry, I'll keep watch and make sure no one sees anything." Fuok patted Vi's shoulder and said, "Everything's ready. Now we just wait for nightfall to act. She's just a woman, she can't fight against 3 men like us." Vi looked outside as the sky darkened, his smile widening, pleased with his plan. He raised his glass to his 2 accomplices. "Tonight will be our night. She won't know what hit her. She'll regret daring to refuse us. By then, no one can stop us, she'll remember." Their conversation continued for a few more minutes. Then they stood up, each taking another glass of wine, and walked out with determined, malicious steps. The sky was pitch black, the air silent. Only the rustling of wind through the coconut palm fronds could be heard. In Cam's small hut, a faint light still shone. She was preparing a batch of banana sweet soup for the next day. But no one knew that outside, 3 depraved men were lurking. Vi, Fuok, and Fuck crept closer to her hut. They moved through thorny bushes, hiding in the shadows, discussing their plan. Vi, with his butcher's crude appearance, peered through a crack in the door, his eyes never leaving Cam. "Tonight is our night. Everyone in the village is fast asleep. No one will know. She can't escape." Fuok, his eyes still hazy from alcohol, mumbled grimly, "She thought she could resist us. Tonight, she'll understand what it means to be powerless against us. We'll go in and give her a night to remember." Fuck, with a gentle, insidious smile, patted Fuok's shoulder. "We've got everything ready, just go ahead. She won't be able to fight back." As the three plotted, Cam suddenly looked up, a strange premonition rising within her, a feeling that something was wrong. She stood up, moving quietly towards the door. Her eyes, sharp like a hunting animal's, scanned the darkness outside. She saw three shadowy figures flickering near the hut, familiar silhouettes of Vi, Fuok, and Fuck. Having realized their sinister intentions, Cam no longer hesitated. A fierce determination welled up in her heart. She could not let these men ruin her life further. She quickly closed the door, locked it tightly, and reached under the bed where she kept a small knife. Clutching the knife, she carefully moved to the back of the house, where a small path led to the garden, out of sight of the three villains. As the three approached, ready to force their way in, they suddenly heard a voice from behind. Before they could react, Cam appeared, knife in hand, her face resolute. "What do you want here?" Vi, Fuok, and Fuck flinched, not expecting Cam to have discovered their plan. They stopped, but none of them intended to retreat. "You dare to hold a knife, you bitch," Vi roared, his anger flaring. Cam did not back down. She stood tall, her eyes determined. "Tell me what you want." Fuok, visibly angry, stepped closer, only to be stopped by Cam's knife. "Get away quickly, or I'll stab each of you once." Fuok sneered, his eyes still hazy. "Who do you think you are, little girl? We're so scared of you now." Cam held the knife steady, speaking clearly. When the three depraved men saw Cam's fierce resistance, a profound rage welled up within them. They could not accept that the weak girl they thought they could easily control dared to fight back like this. All reason was overcome by their blind fury. Vi lunged at Cam, but she did not falter. She bravely faced the three men holding the knife, but they were stronger and outnumbered her. They quickly overpowered Fuok, seizing her hands tightly. While Fuok used his strength to attack, Cam, with her remaining strength, could not break free. Faced with three brutal men, she could not resist. In her weakened state, they acted, and when it was all over, she lay motionless. Only the faint moonlight witnessed her lifeless body. The three depraved men, without hesitation, quickly dumped her body into the river after committing their brutal act. Vi, Fuok, and Fuck emerged from Cam's hut, feeling no remorse or concern for their actions. In the darkness, the three even chuckled, as if unaware of the gravity of their evil deed. Vi, the strongest and most imposing of the three, burst out laughing. She thought she was someone important, but she died before she could do anything. What a useless effort for nothing. "It really gets on my nerves." Fuok, though seemingly more cunning, couldn't hide his indifference at this moment. "Forget it, let's go home." The morning mist still hung low on the water. The sun had not yet fully risen, only a rosy glow hinted at the horizon. Uncle Hai, a familiar middle-aged fisherman with his old, weathered boat, was heading out to the section of the river where he cast his net every morning. He yawned, rubbing his eyes, still tired from waking early. The river wind carried the familiar, slightly pungent smell of mud. "Looks like there'll be a lot of fish today," he muttered, and began to cast his net. Just as he threw the net and before he could pull it back, Uncle Hai suddenly spotted something bobbing a few meters from his boat. At first, he thought it was an old sack of rice someone had discarded. But as he drew closer, he stood up, his eyes widening. Good heavens, it wasn't a sack at all. It was a woman with long, disheveled hair, floating face down, her face pale, lips purple. On her neck, a faint bruise stood out. Uncle Hai immediately recognized her as Cam, the girl who sold banana sweet soup at the market, who lived alone by the river. Aunt two. Uncle Hai trembled, not even thinking. He frantically paddled his boat to the riverbank. "Everyone look, Aunt Two, she's dead." His cries echoed down the river. From the houses, lights came on, people rushed out, some still half asleep, rubbing their eyes. "What is it, Uncle Hai? Who died?" "Aunt Cam, the sweet soup seller." A crowd began to gather at the riverbank. With Uncle Hai's help, the woman's body was pulled ashore. Cam's face was deathly pale, her hair wet and straggly, her clothes disheveled, with faint bruises on her neck and shoulders. A woman standing by cried out, "Oh my God, just a few days ago I was still buying her sweet soup, and now? Good heavens, this isn't a normal death, she was murdered. Who would do such an unholy thing?" No one could answer. Only the river wind sighed through the wet hair of the woman who had just passed away. The men of the village, Mr. Ba Chai, Uncle Tam, and Lou rolled up their sleeves, took a mat from Uncle Hai's house, and gently placed Cam's body on it. No one spoke. Only the rustling of the mat, the wind, and suppressed sobs could be heard among the crowd. "Let's take her to her hut first, folks," Mr. Tran said. No one objected. The crowd solemnly carried Toucam's body across the rice fields, following the narrow path to her small, lonely hut by the river. Without being told, the villagers began to act. Some went to find planks of wood for a temporary coffin. Others hurried to invite a monk, bringing incense, candles, flowers, and fruit. Each household contributed what they could: bundles of incense, unripe bananas, mourning cloths, and a white sheet. The neighboring women, Toucam's former customers, wiped their tears and gathered her old clothes to prepare her for burial. Poor girl, living alone, no one to care for her. If only she hadn't been driven from her old village. So kind and gentle, who could have done this to her? The simple hut became a temporary resting place where simple offerings were made. The whole village was silent, only the echoing prayers, the sound of the wind, and the lapping of waves beneath the stilt bridge could be heard. That afternoon, a group of men in the village dug a deep grave behind the sandbank, near where the river gently flowed, looking directly out at the river she had loved. The coffin was carried out and lowered into the grave. On top of the coffin lay a branch of ripe banana blossoms, the fruit she had cooked for so many years. Everyone stood around, silent, only the dull thud of dirt falling on the wooden lid was heard. An old woman in the crowd murmured, "Rest in peace, my dear. If you were wronged, you won't let it rest." A crescent moon hung in the windless sky. Thien Enhan village felt heavier and more somber now, especially near the river bend where Toucam was buried. Many times, passing by at night, people smelled the sweet aroma of banana sweet soup emanating from the grassy, overgrown mound. Some even heard faint shuffling footsteps on dry leaves, but when they turned, there was no one. Vi, the muscular butcher who lived at the edge of the forest near the slaughterhouse, acted as if nothing had happened since the night he murdered Toucam. He still went drinking, still carried his knife to chop meat, still spoke crude words to the women at the market. But by the 4th week after the funeral, strange things began to happen to him. Vi lay alone in his house, the oil lamp flickering faintly. In the dead of night, he would wake up drenched in sweat. He dreamed of a woman with long hair and a white dress standing under the banyan tree in front of his house, staring intently at him. He couldn't see her face clearly, only a pair of deep, dark eyes filled with sorrow. She slowly raised a hand, pointing at his face, her lips moving silently. "Pay me back," he would scream, thrashing, knocking over his bed. Waking up in the morning, his mat was disheveled, his bed sheets torn. His entire body was covered in scratches and bite marks. As Vi washed up, he heard a faint metallic clinking, as if someone was sharpening a knife nearby. He turned on the lamp, sat up, and ran outside. No one was there. Yet there was a soft breath behind him. He spun around, but saw no one. From then on, every night, he heard the sound of a knife being sharpened and a breath close to his neck. A few days later, he was cutting pork at the market. Vi looked down at his hands, and the knife he was using to cut the meat seemed to slice into his own flesh. His skin was pale and flabby, with purple bruises. He screamed in panic, dropping the knife and running madly out of the market. That night was heavy as lead, and the rain obscured even the moonlight. The wind howled through the bamboo groves by the river, bringing bone-chilling cold in waves. Vi's temporary house by the slaughterhouse was pitch black, only the flickering oil lamp on the ancestral altar providing light. He lay on his bamboo cot, unable to sleep, his eyes glazed, hands and feet trembling. The dream from the previous night haunted him. Even though he tried to convince himself, there were no ghosts. The whispering sound from outside the yard repeatedly echoed in his ears. Suddenly, his house door creaked open, and a cold gust of wind blew in, extinguishing the oil lamp. Vi jolted up, drenched in sweat. At that moment, a soft, slow, shuffling sound arose, as if someone was walking on the wet ground. Vi froze. From the darkness outside the door, a figure slowly approached. It was a woman with long hair that reached her waist, wearing a tattered white dress, dripping wet as if she had just emerged from the river. Small droplets of water fell from her feet, forming puddles. Her face was unclear, only her deep, dark eye sockets were visible, and the lingering scent of banana sweet soup mixed with the smell of fresh blood. "Pay me back," she hissed, her voice a mournful groan from the depths of hell. She slowly advanced, each step leaving a trail of water. Her face was clearly Toucam's, now purple and bruised, her lips cracked, her eyes filled with agonizing hatred. The oil lamp suddenly flared, then the scene of her standing stiffly before him, her eyes bloodshot, both hands clutching the bamboo pole she used to carry her sweet soup stall when she was alive. "Pay me back, you dog." The door slammed shut, the light instantly vanished, and the entire house was plunged into darkness. That long, eerie night, Vi's neighbor woke up with a start and rushed over, only to see Vi's house engulfed in flames from the inside. When the villagers finally managed to break open the door, Vi was found dead, his body twisted on the floor, eyes wide open, mouth agape, his tongue sticking out. His hands were still clutching a banana stem. On his neck was a deep purple bruise, and on the floor there was a puddle of water with the distinct aroma of banana sweet soup. No one could explain what had happened, but everyone understood one thing. Cam's ghost had returned, and the blood of the first culprit had been shed to atone for his sin. After Vi's mysterious death, the entire village of Thien Enhan was abuzz. Some said it was a heart attack, others a sudden stroke. But everyone secretly dreamed of Cam's ghostly figure. Fuok, meanwhile, continued to frequent the pub, constantly drunk, muttering, "There's no such thing as ghosts. If you're weak, you die, that's it." He still ate a lot and wandered around at night with his flask of alcohol, but from that night on, he no longer slept peacefully. At first, it was just faint tapping sounds on the roof. Half asleep, he would climb up to check, but found nothing. Yet, just as he climbed down, a strong gust of wind would slam the roof, startling him awake to hear the faint sound of dripping water, right next to his bed, even though there were no water pipes in the house. One afternoon, he was resting in his hut near the construction site, dozing off, and dreamed he was swimming in a freezing river. Ahead was a small, paddling boat, and a woman in a white dress head bowed. She slowly rowed closer, then looked up. Her eyes were bloodshot and pale, her hair disheveled, but he still recognized her as Cam. "Do you remember that night, Fuok?" He screamed and sat up, drenched in sweat. But what was more terrifying was that his flask of alcohol had fallen, and a puddle of foul-smelling water had formed on the floor where it had been for so long. That night, Fuok returned from the pub, heading home along the riverbank. The biting wind cut through him, and as he reached the river, he saw a shadowy figure standing by the wharf, its back to him. "Who's there? Are you swimming at night?" There was no reply. The figure slowly turned around, its face pale white, eyes dark and hollow, its neck bruised, hair still dripping water. Then, its lips twisted into a painful and hateful smile. "Don't you remember, Fuok? You harmed me, and now I've returned to take your dog's life." Fuok, still clutching his alcohol gourd, recoiled. He turned to flee, but his feet were stuck to the ground, unable to lift. Behind him, the shuffling sound of footsteps, wet and getting closer. "That night you also laughed, you also went along with them. I remember it all." Cam appeared behind him, and with a chilling command, she gripped Fuok's neck. He struggled, screaming, but no one heard him. The river remained as cold and indifferent as if no one was there. Villagers found Fuok's body lying twisted by the riverbank, his face ashen, eyes wide open, mouth agape as if screaming, his tongue sticking out, his neck purple with bruises. Next to his body was a handful of banana stems and a few drops of sweet soup, its sweet scent wafting. After the deaths of Vi and Fuok, Thien Enhan village was gripped by terror. The women of the village whispered among themselves. Those two died the same way, bruised necks, wide eyes, gaping mouths. As for Fuck, he hadn't dared to go to the market lately. He was as pale as a leaf. Since the deaths, Fuck had lost his appetite and couldn't sleep. He dared not leave his house after dark. He was now the most brazen of the three who had propositioned Cam. At night, he heard the weeping of a woman sobbing by his window. "Give me back my life." Fuck cried hysterically, begging and wailing. "Aunt Two, I beg you, I was wrong. I didn't want to do it. Those two forced me. Please let me go." But the crying didn't stop. That night, a fierce thunderstorm broke, with rain pouring down and thunder rumbling. Fuck sat clutching a knife in the corner of his house, his eyes wide with terror, hugging a large, tall ancestral tablet on the altar. The house's light flickered continuously. The door suddenly blew open, and the sweet aroma of banana sweet soup filled the air, accompanied by the stagnant smell of river water. Fuck trembled, turning his head to look at the woman standing there. She was soaking wet, with long, disheveled hair, pale white skin, blood trickling from her neck and hands, holding the bamboo pole of her sweet soup stall. The wind shrieked violently as she slowly stepped forward, water dripping onto the floor with each step. "You're the last one, fuck," the woman cried out. "You cried all night, but don't face Aunt Two. She'll forgive me, I beg you. I wasn't the one who killed you." But Cam raised her head, her bloodshot eyes gleaming. "You didn't lay a hand on me, but you stood there, laughing, watching. You didn't save me. You are also a culprit." She lunged at him, throwing him to the floor as if carried by the wind, her icy hands clutching Fuck's neck. Fuck struggled frantically, his hands scratching wildly, his body thrashing like a fish caught out of water. The bamboo pole she held was raised and struck hard against his chest. A sickening crack of bone echoed, and he twitched. The next morning, Fuck's body was found in the pigsty by the river. His limbs were twisted and disfigured from terror, his tongue hanging out as if he had been screaming before he died. The most terrifying thing was a line of bloody writing on the mud wall. "Crime has been repaid, blood must be paid with blood." The village was horrified. Everyone gathered at the temple by the river, an altar to Cam, lighting incense every day, hoping she would quell her vengeance. Cam's spirit was truly sacred. After the terrifying deaths, no one in Thien Enhan village dared to doubt anymore. They built her a small temple by the riverbank, right where she used to sell her steamed banana sweet soup, and called it Aunt Two's Temple. At first, only a few people secretly came to light incense in the morning. But then strange things began to happen. A small child got lost in the bamboo grove, stumbling and almost falling into a muddy puddle. The child cried out in panic. No one heard, but a white figure appeared, taking its hand and leading it all the way to the main road. The child recounted, "A lady in a white dress with long hair, a very pretty face, led me home. She even gave me a banana." When the child opened its hand, there indeed was a ripe banana, still warm. Another time, Old Man Beikai, a professional night fisherman, recounted with a pale face, "That day I was passing by the temple and saw a dark shadow squatting on the roof. It was a thief. I shone my flashlight on it, and I saw it had no face, only glowing red eyes like fire. He was about to turn his ox cart and flee when, from inside the temple, a white light erupted, and a woman's voice, cold as river water, echoed, 'This place is not for you.' The flashlight flickered, then caught fire and disintegrated as if in smoke and wind. Because her spirit was sacred, she never asked for money or offerings. The villagers believed that because she lived a kind life and died unjustly, after settling her grudges, Cam chose to stay and protect the village. Anyone who faced injustice, lost possessions, fell ill, or encountered ghosts would bring incense and candles to the temple. Many said she performed miracles. My mother was seriously ill, and after praying to her for 3 days, she recovered. My child was constantly having nightmares, so I hung his shirt at the temple, and from then on, he was fine. The villagers affectionately called her Aunt Two Banana Sweet Soup. Every time they passed the temple, everyone would clasp their hands and bow their heads. If they were selling, they'd pray for luck. If they were doing business, they'd ask for blessings. If someone was in danger, they only needed to think, "Aunt Two, save me." And who knows, amidst the cold wind and clear moonlight, the scent of banana sweet soup might waft by as a sign that she was listening. One night the sky was gloomy, moonless, and starless. The wind howled furiously, waves slapped against the riverbank. Mr. Nam and his wife, Mrs. Sao, were heading downstream in their boat, loaded with dozens of sacks of goods, planning to sell them at the big market to earn money for Mr. Nam's ailing mother. The boat slowly drifted with the current. As they reached the river segment near Aunt Two's temple, a strange chill suddenly descended, and the wind died, leaving the water surface calm as a mirror. Mr. Nam saw his wife, Mrs. Sao, staring intently at the bow of the boat. "What are you looking at?" Mrs. Sao whispered, her breath ragged. "Someone is sitting at the bow of the boat, dear." Mr. Nam looked closely, a dark, huddled figure with long hair covering its face, both hands hanging close to the rough surface of the boat. No footsteps, no sound of rowing, yet it appeared silently like smoke or mist. "Who are you, and what do you want from us?" No one answered. Suddenly, the figure lifted its face. Its eye sockets were hollow, its mouth stretched to its ears, a long, crimson tongue hanging out. Its face was distorted and slimy, like a water-bloated corpse, a putrid, muddy stench rising from it. Mrs. Sao screamed, then fainted. The demon lunged, gripping Mr. Nam's neck. Its breath was icy cold. Mr. Nam struggled, but his limbs were paralyzed. He could only gasp, "Aunt Two, save me, Aunt Two." At that very moment, the wind suddenly roared in the air, and a faint sound of a bamboo pole hitting a basket echoed. A white figure darted towards the bank. Dressed in flowing white robes, her long hair unbound, holding a bamboo pole carrying sweet soup. Cam appeared, standing in the middle of the boat. A gentle light emanated from her body, illuminating the surrounding water for a space as bright as the full moon. Her voice rang out, gentle yet sharp as a knife. "This is not a place for you to sow evil." The demon screeched, thrashing as if being burned. Cam pointed her bamboo pole directly at it, uttering an ancient incantation, as if from the depths of time. "Evildoers to the waters, remain there for eternity." A blinding flash of light shot from the tip of the pole, striking the demon. It shrieked in agonizing pain, then turned into smoke and mist, swirling down into the river as if swallowed. Mrs. Sow awoke to find herself in the boat cabin, her knees bruised from the sacks. Mr. Nom sat beside her, his eyes wide with amazement, holding a clay figurine of a woman carrying sweet soup. "Aunt Tu saved us," she herself appeared Sow. The next morning, the couple, still shaken, returned to the riverbank and placed their wedding offerings from Mrs. Sow at the temple, kneeling in gratitude. From that year on, they would cook a large pot of banana sweet soup every year to offer to her on her death anniversary. 7 days after Mr. Nom and his wife encountered the danger, a thick fog, permeated with the pungent smell of mud, descended upon the riverbanks of Thien Enhan. At that time, a revered Buddhist monk named Master Chan Mai, a man of profound insight, was traveling to many villages, looking for a place to rest. As he approached Aunt Tu's temple, he paused, for a terrifying sight unfolded before him. In the midst of the misty sandbank, a group of shadowy, fierce-faced spirits snarled, emerging from the bamboo groves and overgrown grass. They were vengeful souls who had died by the roadside or in the market, wandering for too long, having forgotten their past lives, retaining only their instinct to harm people. Standing before them was Cam, still holding her bamboo pole, her long hair flying in the wind. A white light enveloped her body. Her face was no longer sad but radiant, like 2 burning suns, filled with both fervent resolve and fierce determination. "This place does not tolerate evil spirits. Leave now, or I will have to act." The 8 spirits did not listen. Instead, they rushed forward. Cam swung her pole, and each strike unleashed a blinding, banana-colored light, exploding like lotus seeds in a hot pan. One by one, the spirits were pulverized into dust by the wind and swept into the river. Master Chan Mai stood silently under a tree, his hands clasped before his chest, his eyes filled with respect for such a powerful and benevolent spirit. As the light faded, Cam stood silently on the empty ground, the scent of incense from the small temple still wafting, as if guiding silent prayers. The monk approached gently and spoke, "Who are you, to wield such spiritual power over the realm of the dead? Since you have fought off the evil, why not reincarnate? What binds you to this mortal realm?" Cam turned, her eyes as deep as the village river. She bowed her head slightly and whispered, "I am still waiting for my husband. He died too soon and his body was never found. I know that one day his spirit will drift past this place. I promise to wait for him, and then we will go together, hand in hand, no longer alone." Her voice broke in the cool night air, and the gentle scent of banana sweet soup wafted, like the soft sob of a faithful soul. Master Chan Mai clasped his hands deeply. "Amitabha Buddha, a loyal woman like you is truly rare in this world." He then took a string of agarwood beads from his robes and placed them at the temple entrance. "This string of beads will help you guard the gate of the underworld, maintaining peace for this village until the day of your reunion." After saying his farewell, the monk Master Chan Mai bowed, hands clasped over his chest. "Stay in peace. When your time for reunion comes, it will arrive." He walked slowly away, his brown robes fading into the dissipating mist, only the faint clinking of his prayer beads accompanying his footsteps. The night wind rustled through the bamboo groves by the river. Cam stood silently, her long, flowing hair, her faded white dress fluttering in the wind. As the monk's shadow vanished beyond the horizon, she slowly turned, her gaze fixed on the vast, deep river. Under the faint new moon just peeking from behind the clouds, the river was calm as a shimmering, broken mirror. She stood there motionless, like a statue made of smoke, her eyes filled with hope mixed with sorrow. My love, I am still waiting, as I promised. When you pass by this river bend, I won't go anywhere else. We will go together. The wind swept through the small temple, carrying a faint, sweet scent of banana sweet soup, the dish she made all those years, making the space feel strangely gentle and warm. In the sky, a small shooting star streaked across, like a silent promise. Just as Tukam reached the village of Yen Ai, her eyes looked towards the river, her heart filled with hope. A sudden strong gust of wind howled from behind. The icy coldness of the long night seemed to intensify, and she turned, feeling as if a dark shadow was falling, engulfing the entire space. A horde of demons suddenly appeared out of nowhere, silently moving through the shadows, their faces pale, limbs twisted like dry skeletons. These were the very vengeful spirits she had defeated the night before. Now they had returned for revenge. Leading them was the head demon, a dark, gigantic monster with a bald head and eyes gleaming like electric fire. The head demon laughed maniacally and said, "You think you can destroy us? You are just a lost soul, deceived, unable to escape your fate, unable to reincarnate or receive the consequences of what you have done." Tukam paused, her eyes glowing like fire. However, deep in her heart, she clearly felt that her spiritual power was not strong enough to confront this head demon. It was too strong, too brutal, even more so than the demon she had faced earlier. She could feel its cruelty, like the smell of blood in the air. Tukam did not hesitate, swinging her bamboo pola symbol of her strength and long-held patience towards the dark horde of demons. Light from the pole flared brightly, temporarily driving back some of the weaker demons. The head demon merely gave a faint smile and raised its hand, summoning dark waves that snatched her pole from her hand. "Your chance is gone. I will tear your soul and spirit apart, you little wench." Tukam clearly felt her spiritual power beginning to weaken. A cold, gloomy energy seemed to permeate her entire body, yet she was not afraid. As Tukam's spiritual power began to wane, she clearly felt exhaustion spreading throughout her body. But the haunting spirits left no residual energy. Instead, they were slowly occupying the entire surrounding space. She stood silently, only the faint, ethereal light from her bamboo pole and other sacred items shining, a light of hope that refused to dim. The head demon, seeing Tukam's weakness, advanced with a contemptuous smile. "Here you are, little soul, exhausted. How can you resist me now?" At this moment, she felt everything falling into despair. Her spiritual power seemed to vanish into the air, leaving only an unspeakable pain. But then she felt a warm surge of energy surrounding her, like a distant whisper. A gentle sound emanated from the agarwood beads that Master Chan Mai had left for her. It lay still in her hand, as if waiting for this very moment. Light from the agarwood beads began to emit a powerful, clear radiance, sending out sharp rays of light like daggers. The light pierced through the darkness. The agarwood beads began to glow brilliantly, pervading the space like a sacred call, a protection for the righteous. The demons, especially the head demon, suddenly felt a surge of fear. They reeled in the air, as if unable to escape the power of the light from the agarwood beads. One by one, the demons ignited and turned into dust. Their forms disintegrated in the divine light, leaving only the smell of burning and desperate shrieks echoing in the silent space. "Impossible!" the head demon roared, as if unable to avoid its predetermined fate. And then, in just a few moments, all the evil spirits vanished into thin air, leaving no trace. Cam bowed her head slightly, whispering her gratitude in her mind. "Thank you, Master." The harshness of the night gradually receded, and the air in the village was filled with peace, as if a wound had been healed. The malicious spirits could no longer return to cause trouble. The wind rustled through the grass along the riverbank, and the river flowed calmly, like a tranquil mirror in the mist. In that soft light, Tukam sat alone by the river, where she used to wait for her husband to return from work. The same spot where, countless times, her tears had fallen from longing, from pain, from injustice. More than 30 years had passed. 30 years she had carried an unfulfilled love, a life not fully lived. And now, after all the resentment, bloodshed, and revenge, she returned to the very beginning, waiting for him. As the wind died down, the river's surface rippled gently, as if someone was walking on water. She turned her head, a clear premonition. And then, a familiar figure appeared in the faint white mist. A man in old traditional clothes, with a gentle face and a familiar tall, slender figure. It was her husband, the one she loved all her life, who had departed forever on that night of high waters. Toucam choked back a sob, standing up, unable to believe her eyes. "Hi, is that you?" The man smiled, his eyes as gentle as ever. "It's me, I've returned too." She rushed to hug him tightly, tears streaming like rain, but her embrace met only a faint warmth like smoke and mist, like the scent of banana sweet soup every morning. But the emotion was so real in her heart. "I waited for you, I waited for so long, do you know, Cam? They said I was cursed to cause my husband's death, I was driven away, I lived with ghosts, but I never forgot you." He stroked her hair, as if soothing a wound that had lasted a lifetime. "I know, too. I've always watched over you. I watched you live alone, suffer, watched you being slandered and torn apart. How I regret not being able to protect you." She choked on her words, her hands trembling. "I don't blame you, I just feared I would never see you again." He smiled gently and said, "I've come to take you away too. All your karma has been settled. You've done what's right, helped the village, saved people, punished evil. You deserve to rest in peace." Toucam looked at him, her eyes reflecting a sense of relief, the first time in so many years. "But I will miss my sweet soup stall by this river." He held her hand gently. "Everything you loved will follow you to another life in another place. There, peace will begin anew, without injustice, without loss." That night the moon was full, bright, yet the early morning light had a strange, melancholy hue. The wind was gentle, but something made people restless. For decades, the small temple by the river, once home to Toucam's spirit, had received offerings. One night, the temple gate creaked open in the dead of night. Mr. Nam, an old man living nearby, woke up with a start. He lit his oil lamp and opened the door, and a cold gust of wind swept past. Before him stood the faint white figure of Toucam. Her long hair, her graceful face, still carried the faint scent of banana sweet soup. But her eyes tonight were different, peaceful and serene. Mr. Nam trembled. "Aunt Tu, is that you?" She nodded, smiling gently. "It is I must tell the villagers that tomorrow they should no longer keep my temple." Mr. Nam's eyes widened. "Why, Aunt? The villagers built this out of love and gratitude for you. You've helped so many people." Toucam bowed her head, her voice soft as the wind. "I know, and I am grateful to everyone, but I cannot stay. My husband has returned. I waited for him for 30 years, and now we must go." Mr. Nam clasped his hands, tears welling up. "But we're used to you being here. No one dares to do bad things. Children are no longer bothered by ghosts, and the village loves you so much." Toucam looked up at the temple roof, the moonlight casting a gentle glow on the mossy tiles. "I will carry that gratitude with me, never forgetting. But now I must truly leave. Everyone must preserve goodness and kindness in their lives." She turned, her voice echoing. "Tomorrow, please take down the temple and let it flow into the river with the current. The incense and offerings are no longer needed." Having said that, her figure slowly dissolved into the moonlight, like mist merging with water. The next morning, Mr. Nam gathered the villagers and told them everything. At first, everyone was stunned and saddened, reluctant to dismantle the temple. The next morning, at Aunt Tu's temple in Thien Enhan village, dew still clung to the leaf roof, and the faint scent of agarwood from the previous night lingered in the air. The villagers gathered at the temple. Some carried incense, some carried chairs. Others just stood silently, their faces anxious. Mr. Nam, his white hair gleaming, stood before the crowd, his voice trembling but firm. "I tell you, last night I saw Aunt Tu with my own eyes. She said it was time for her to go, and she told us to dismantle the temple ourselves and let it go into the river." The crowd buzzed. Grandma Sao, the sweet soup seller, clasped her hands over her chest. "Oh dear, Aunt Tu is so spiritual. She's helped the village so much. I still remember when my grandson was having nightmares, she appeared and stroked his head, and he slept peacefully." Uncle Tam, who had once been saved by her from a demon in the bamboo grove, shook his head and said, "So she's really leaving after all these decades. We have to let her rest now, don't we?" The women selling their goods cried, "But we built this temple with our pure hearts. How can we just dismantle it?" Mr. Nam stepped forward, his eyes solemn. "I know it's hard, but she clearly said she doesn't want to be held back by incense or altars anymore. She wants us to live honest, good lives. That's how we keep her in our hearts." A moment of silence, only the wind rustling through the leaf roof. Then Grandma Tu Trao, the oldest woman in the village, said softly, "Truly, living to this age, I finally understand. When someone dies, incense isn't the way to keep them. What remains are kindness and love, and we haven't lost Aunt Two. She lives in the hearts of our villagers now. Everyone looked at each other, tears welling in their eyes, but they nodded one by one, then quietly lit the last stick of incense before the temple. And then, in the gently swirling smoke, someone heard a soft laugh and the faint sound of a small boat gently gliding on the river. Aunt Two had left, but she had never truly left Thien Enhan village. After delivering her message to the temple keeper, Tu Cam and her husband silently held hands. They looked at the sparkling river surface reflecting the moonlight, the space incredibly peaceful. And then, both stepped into the silvery mist, fading into the quiet light of the late night. On the riverbank, the agarwood beads were still there, emitting a faint glow as the last witness of a love that refused to reincarnate, that refused to surrender. That was not small.